Panther Nation, the C3 Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com.
I had fun, man, just out, you guys joking, we working at the same time, putting the work in as a team. Like I said, I'm just glad to be with the guys,
My favorite night of the week?
Because we're going to go out there and we're playing to win. We're not out here just to just show up. We're out here to win.
I don't want guys that want to win. Because really, who doesn't? Nobody wants to win. Everybody wants to win. I want players that hate to win.
This embodies everything that we are as a team, as an organization. Our motto is keep pounding. That's what we do. You know what I'm saying?
What's up, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn, and this is the C3 Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions. I do it each and every week with my homeboys. Joe Riolano's running a little behind, but we got Mel Mayock back, and that's the best thing that a man can ask for on a Tuesday night, talking Carolina Panthers football. What is up, my friend? And you got no audio. He muted himself. Mel, can you hear me? He's got to leave. All right, so I'm going to hold off, and I got this until then. Guys, first of all, can you hear me? That is the number one question. Can you hear me?
How about now, brother?
He's back. Holy cow.
Way to start the show, huh?
Boy, I really, I introed you in, pretty well.
I know. It's one of the best intros I've ever had.
Yeah, I mean, I was really nice about everything, and then all of a sudden, you just abandoned me.
I gave you the salad.
And I like this. I like how you gave me the cut symbol. All right.
Hey, man,
okay.
It's good to be back, man. It's been 2 weeks that I've had to miss, but, dude, there's nowhere I'd rather be tonight than right here hanging out with you and all the people out there that love to have fun with in the YouTube chat. Let's have some fun, man. Let's talk to Panthers.
Fantastic. Tonight's episode is 17.42, and it is Ealy and the Jets. Dun, 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 dun. That's my best impression of, who is that? Rocket Man. Help me out. Elton John.
That's Elton John. Now, that would have been better if Ben Wickery played for the Jets.
Yes, that is the truth. But Ealy and the Jets, the Panthers are coming off of a bye. We are 7-3. We are still a half game behind the Saints because those dastardly Redskins.
Hey,
Gosh.
By the way, speaking of Ben Wickery, did you see his little cold diss tweet to Sean McDermott over the weekend?
No.
He said, "Hey, Tyrod, once you get in that doghouse, it's hard to get out. Believe me, I know."
Oh, dang. Yeah, a lot of problems there in Buffalo. Sean McDermott with a bizarre decision to go with Peterman or something like that. Some guy that nobody has ever heard of.
5th round draft pick rookie. Yeah.
And especially when they were in the hunt.
They were in 6th place. Yeah. Now, this franchise has not been in the playoffs since 1999. Think about that, people.
That's another year. Another year not in the playoffs. We've been to the Super Bowl twice since then. Several playoff appearances in the hunt.
Yes.
So, right. All right. Well, we're going to be talking about the Carolina Panthers, the potential return of Greg Olsen, Damiere Byrd, and how the Panthers can continue to pursue this an NFC championship, hopefully, as well as, if not, to back end in a wild card position in what the NFC is a remarkably difficult conference in comparison to the AFC. The Panthers would be a shoe-in if they were in the other conference, but they are not, and they are fighting against teams, and we've got some tough games ahead. I believe we still have the Vikings on the schedule, the Saints on the schedule, as well as the Falcons on the schedule. And then, but before we can look ahead to those guys, we're going to have to put away the Jets. And what we do is we're going to have Nick Spano, founder of UStadium, to come on and help preview the matchup against the Jets and how they are looking in a team that has been far more impressive than anybody expected this season. So he'll be coming on about 15 minutes, as well as Joe Riolano will be joining us in the show. And so what we encourage now is everybody who's watching in the YouTube chat, we thank you for joining the show, and we encourage you to smash that like button. Just peek down at the bottom, hit that thumbs up, and even considering hitting share. You can find all of the links to the podcast on the website or in the show notes on YouTube. Follow us at cat_chronicles. And as always, we'll be featuring your calls at the end of the show on the Cat Calls line, which that's live 24/7. You can leave a message 252-228-5098. So let's jump into this show. Mel Mayock, right now, I think the number one news for the Carolina Panthers, I would have to say, is Greg Olson's potential return. Greg Olson, they notified the league that he's going to be taken off of IR. He has been practicing, and they have 2 weeks to activate him, and that was at the beginning. That may have been a Monday when they did that. So, this is a guy who broke his foot in a non-contact injury earlier in the season. Pro Bowl tight end Greg Olson has been sidelined for 9 weeks with a broken foot, writes Max Henson. And this is Olson. He says, there was a little anxiousness. I kind of got up this morning, quote, early, and you just want to make sure you remember how to do this, getting the rhythm, getting the footwork down, he says, cutting in and out of the breaks. So he's excited to be back. And to be honest, when they came and they said he was going to have he had a broken foot and he was going to have surgery, generally, anytime I hear the knife getting pulled out, I think it's hard for these dudes to return mid-season. So I've been very pleased with this timeline, and I'm glad they're pushing him because we don't have a long time with Greg Olson ahead, and we could use him this year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, and it's not just Greg Olson too. It's also Ryan Khalil. He said today that he feels better than he's felt all year long. So I think this bye week came at a great time for this team, and they're just gearing up for this stretch run here. I mean, we are in the perfect position, but like you said, the NFC is so stout right now, which think about that. A few years ago, it was the other way around. The AFC was so much more dominant than the NFC, but now it's the other way around. And we're sitting at 7-3, and man, you lose this weekend to the Jets, you're probably not even in the top 6 for the playoffs.
Right. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out how to do, all right, keep going with that. I was going to try to show us the standings, but it looks like I don't have it set up correct. Oh, I know what I do wrong. Go ahead.
As you pull that up, one thought to go along with that is, I mean, this team is surging at the right time. And if you're going to be a serious playoff and Super Bowl contender, it's all about playing good at the right time in that home stretch. This team struggled offensively mightily the first part of the year. There's no denying that. They're starting to catch their stride. Now, they have not proven that they will sustain it. That's what they've got to do these next couple of games. But since the Benjamin trade, they looked a lot more like the 2015 Panthers and the 2017 Panthers. So now you're getting Olsen back. You're getting Khalil back, whether it's this week or next. You get Bird coming back next week. I mean, you're getting some weapons. Now, the key is, can they keep this protection up? Can they keep getting the running game going? Can Cam keep being Cam? Good Cam. If these things keep progressing and you're adding these players to that arsenal, I mean, we're right up there, man.
I think it was African Rhino said before we are 5-2 since KB. 5-5 with it says 5-2 before KB, 5-5 after KB.
Talking about Buffalo.
Oh, Buffalo. Oh, that's Buffalo. And we've improved since he's been gone. Addition by subtraction. Right now, the Panthers are in a wild card spot. It looks like.
I think we're in 5th right now. We're in 5th right now.
So let me see who would. Why is it so hard to look at the standings on? Would we play the Falcons? Is that what it would be? No, that can't.
Well, right
be
now
right.
the Falcons have the 6th seed because they beat Seattle and they're tied with them record-wise right now. But they will get the head-to-head tiebreaker. We're 5th. The Saints would be like
the Saints would be the 3rd seed. Okay, here it goes. Now I get it. All right, so the Saints would play the Rams as it stands. We would play the Falcons,
which they play this weekend, by the way, right?
Yeah, that is the case. And right now it looks like the Vikings and the Eagles are set to have a bye. The Eagles with the projected 1st seed at the moment, 9-1. Vikings 8-2. But the Panthers have the ability to go after that number 2 seed. Really, if you think about it,
we're playing the Saints and the Vikings back to back, starting here in a couple of weeks.
We hold our destiny in our hands for the playoffs, because if you can beat, first of all, you got to beat the Jets. We can't look past that team. But if you can beat the Vikings and the Saints, you can really leapfrog if these guys run into some problems as well. And it would be nice to get that number 2 seed. And if that was the case, would that mean we had a home game to start the playoffs?
Well, we would get a bye.
Right.
The first 2 teams get a bye, and then you get a home game. We would be going up against the winner of the 4 versus 5 game. And the number 1 team would get the winner of the 3 versus 6. So,
Junkie for Fame says this: it would be crazy if 3 NFC South teams made the playoffs. And that is a great point right now, is the NFC South has 3 representatives, 2 wild cards, division.
I think it's the strongest division. It really is. I mean, I'd stack our division up against anybody. And, I don't know if you guys remember. And by the way, what's up, freaking Puerto Rican? Thanks for joining.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm sorry I'm late. Just here.
We're just trying to hold this show down until you get here, buddy. No problem.
No, you guys are doing a great job as usual.
Hey, but I don't know if you guys remember this, but back in the 2015 season on this show, I said, man, if we beat the Green Bay Packers this coming week, it just seems like the sky is the limit. And that's the game where we beat them, and Aaron Rodgers got upset and threw the iPad down on the sideline and all of that. It kind of feels like if we can get past the Jets, if we can beat the Saints and the Vikings, it's that same type of feeling, that same type of scenario.
Well, of course, if you can win 3 games like in a row, that would make a 5-game winning streak, right?
But what I'm saying is, it's kind of that measuring stick, right? I mean, right now it's New Orleans and Tampa and Philly really seen as the measuring sticks for the NFC. Back then, Green Bay was.
For me, the game that is the win that I need to see is the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
I feel like beating the Minnesota Vikings can do a lot for this team. It could give them some real confidence. It could help them move up in the playoff standings into a position that could really help them. I think beating the Saints is a must, right? I mean, it comes down. You can't lose twice to the Saints and hope to still win the division. And I think that's where we need to be going with this team, that the Panthers, I believe that the way that they're going to be able to make potentially a Super Bowl run is it's going to require
do you want to buy? Do you want this team to have a buy in the playoffs?
I do. I want them to have a home game. I don't want them to have to go on the road, right? But and I guess they wouldn't have to go on the road right now. Would they get a wild card game at home?
Well, right now, being the 5th seed, no, they would be playing the 4th seed.
I thought they would be playing so they would have to play the Rams. I see what this is doing. So the Falcons and the Saints would play each other, and the Panthers and the Rams would play each other. Correct?
That's right. Return of the X-Clown.
Yeah, okay. So definitely I need them to get a bye. I don't want to have to go to the West Coast, take on a Rams team that I do think we could beat. I think we could beat them. I mean, I'm not worried about that.
We can beat any team. It's a matter of, like you said, what's our record when we beat ourselves?
Yeah, exactly. We're winless. We're winless.
Yeah. We've never beat ourselves. We've never won when we beat ourselves, ever.
All right.
There's a stat for you.
Hey, were you guys – is this weird? Did you guys enjoy having a bye week?
I did. First time in I don't know how long I enjoyed having a bye week.
Joe?
Frankly, no. It felt like something was missing.
I secretly liked having the bye. I needed a break. And I need an emotional break right now. I didn't need a break from the Carolina Panthers, but this was
I told my wife it was nice to not be sitting there gut-wrenched the entire game. You know, just sit there, drink a beer, and yell at the Redskins. It was fun.
Well, it was two Sundays.
I love that feeling, that nervous anxiety.
Yeah, I agree. I do like that, but it was 2 Sundays that we got to like not feel like to me, I feel like I invest so much in in this team, you know, especially since and it's just gotten more since we've started running the website and doing the podcast for so long. You know, there's a lot of pressure on us to be consistent, putting up content. I was thinking, God, like I was sick a week and a half ago on my birthday. It's late in the semester. We're busy at work. You know, this is the kind of the time people are getting fatigued in the semester. Yeah. And like, I'm going to tell you this is that it's kind of cool to not have to be glued to the TV and feel like I got to make a video when the game is over. Right. I like Monday night games because of that too, is because Sunday was kind of casual. I got to flip around the TV. You know where I went and watched the games this week, guys? I went to Hooters.
Now the truth comes out.
Yeah, I had to take my son to a birthday party. And
at Hooters? Dad of the year, man.
Yeah, I know. No, I had to take him to a birthday party, and it's like that. It was the closest sports bar to where that birthday party was located. So I hadn't been to Hooters. No, I actually don't care. Like, I went there, and you know what? It's like, it's so weird, man. Hooters is weird. It's like a strip club where they wear clothes. And what I mean by that is like there's a bunch of old dudes there, and they go and chit chat at the tables, right? Like they sit with you at the tables. Like I sat at the bar, so I didn't have to deal with it. I was there to watch because I needed to see. I was watching that Redskins game, Redskins Saints, and the Rams. But it was just weird. First time I've been to Hooters in like 15 years. Probably not going to be going back anytime soon. Probably will go to the strip club before I go to Hooters. All right. Let's see. What else? Oh, you know what is kind of in the news today?
9 years ago today.
Yeah, let me see if I got it. I got it somewhere in here.
What were you doing 9 years ago today?
9 years ago today, I don't know, but I'll tell you what Cam Newton was doing is Cam Newton was getting arrested. He posted today on Instagram, and he said this, and first I'll translate this for you in his language. I contemplated posting this, even reluctant about it, but I think but as I think about my life and many things I'm thankful for, I want to be an open book, so people can hear my testimony and learn from the flaws and mistakes I've made. On this day, 11/21/2008, he was arrested for a stolen laptop. And I'm sure you're asking yourself, what is the moral? Where is he going with this story? But the moral of this story is that he thought his life and career was over at this moment. He had shamed his family, the media coverage surrounding himself, the situation, and he vowed that he would be better, and he must learn from this. And what you must do is learn from this. And he goes on to say that don't listen to what people describe to say to you, about you, and what I guess the expectations they put on you or the limits they put on you, because if he would have listened to them, his career would have been done. But through hard work and persistence, he has overcome this and grown as an individual. And he goes on to say, and this is the reason he plays the game the way he does, the way he acts the way he does, the way he dresses the way he does, and I would add the way he types the way he does. And
Cam Newton font.
Yeah, and that is that if he would have listened to those people, he would have been done. So I thought, I think this was nice. It was nice to see Cam Newton open up, right?
To me, what it is, it's just authenticity, right? I mean, he is not, the complaint against Russell Wilson a lot that I think is very well deserved and very valid is he is just a polished person for the camera, right? I mean, who knows what he really is? He puts on a persona. Cam Newton is totally himself. Like me, don't like me, I'm Cam Newton. That authenticity. I mean, think about it. Why would he bring this up now? This is something behind him and forgotten, and this is something people will probably talk about in the pregame shows, et cetera. He brought this back out because the authenticity to be able to say, I'm thinking bigger than the here and now. I'm thinking about the example I set for others. You learn from my mistakes. What I did was stupid. And you can bounce back. Hard work, perseverance, you can get to where you want to go.
All right.
Awesome.
I'm inviting Nick Spano as we speak to the podcast. Joe, how do you feel about Cam Newton open up about his past in this moment and dressing it head on?
That's my quarterback.
Right on. As the T-shirt says, right? I stand with Cam.
And the pajama pants.
Which you can buy them at W. Yeah, exactly. At least I'm wearing pajama pants tonight.
Thank goodness. I was really worried where that camera angle was going.
I guess I should have stood up. That would have been more PC.
I put up a story on Carolina Cat Chronicles. Joe, wait, were you proud? What you proud about this moment for Cam Newton?
Say that again.
Are you proud about this?
I'm sorry.
You said that's my quarterback. Are you proud about this moment when it comes to Cam Newton?
Yeah, absolutely. It's when you get to the holidays, especially Thanksgiving, you can think about what you're thankful for, and I'm sure he was kind of dwelling on that, and it presented an opportunity for him to maybe influence someone in a positive manner. Somebody reading that maybe is, at a point in their life where they have some different paths that they could travel. And maybe reading that will help them make the right choice. Will be a good influence or a good something positive that they see came from a bad situation. Because Cam was, he was in a bad spot.
Yeah,
he really was in a bad spot. Like he said, I thought I was finished.
And you know what? There's another quarterback in the NFC South that's gone through that before. And who knows? A report came out. Sounds like he may be going through it again. I don't know if that was a bogus fake news or what. But this happens. But hey, just real quick, looks like we've been invaded in the YouTube chat room. We got a 25332 says, "It's a good show, man. You guys really know what you're talking about. You just pulled for the wrong team. Fly, okay. Eagles fly."
Oh, gosh, the Eagles. All right. I'm going to put this out, is that if I recommend everybody go check out my story on CarolinaCatChronicles.com. The title of it's Cam Newton's Instagram post addresses arrest 9 years ago and thankful for the resolve it created. It starts out thug, showboat, immature, arrogant, selfish are all adjectives that people have used to describe Cam Newton, while others of us have used words like talent, confidence, success, individuality, humanitarianism, and potential greatness. But, Cam Newton, what it turns out, what I saw from this post is he doesn't really care what we think about him, and not in a negative way. But in a way that is that he is putting these expectations on himself. And for him, there is what he is that I think his character has grown. I think, or not grown, is that, he's maturing as a man. and he will continue to mature as a man. And if you don't believe, and if that's hard for people to wrap their heads around, they need to look in the mirror a little bit because
think about the guy you were when you were 21 compared to
I'm still thinking about the guy I was when I was 32, 30, 28, right. 26, 25, 24. You know what I mean? I don't have to go all the way back to 18, 19 years old, 20 years old. Right. But if I did, I would not be happy with it. Or I would not be content with being that same person that I was at that point. But I do think that it's really nice to see that he saw this as a crucible moment in his life. Mm-hmm. And I thought there was some honesty in his perspective, or not just some honesty. The one part that I was particularly impressed with was there was a sense of despair that he revealed that he had at that moment, where he saw potentially what he had envisioned his life becoming, diverting. In
prison. He mentions that. He talks about, hey, he could have been in prison.
So
could still be there.
Yeah. Well, not for I guess Donald Trump would say he could still be there for theft. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that stealing an Apple laptop necessarily is. Here's the thing: is I'm not trying to excuse his behavior. I am just trying to say is that a lot of kids. I was a kid that I had some moments where I didn't do some things that I was so proud of. It's fortunate that those things didn't stick with me longer. And I think Cam Newton. I thought this was nice. I think it was nice that he was reflecting upon this in that moment. So it was nice to see him open up. And, I think if anything, it just shows that there's a guy behind here and there's a real, there's an emotional guy. Now, does that mean what I will say is that whatever your opinion of Cam Newton was before this post and after this post probably remains unchanged. But fortunately, Cam Newton doesn't care because, as he says, shine through the shade. And we're going to shine through the shade tonight with our guest, Nick Spano, founder of UStadium and Jets aficionado, second time on the show, and friend of Frankie Vittorini. How you doing, Nick?
Good, guys. What's going on? How's everything?
Man, we're doing well. We're 7-3. We're coming off a bye, and we're playing Ealy and the Jets. It's my little homage to help me out, Mel.
Elton John.
Elton John. Good Lord, I don't know why I'm struggling with Elton John tonight. But so tell us, Nick, we need some info on the New York Jets. You got to be happy with where you guys are as a team. A little pleasant surprise because, or at least from the outside, I thought that this was just going to be a long, miserable season for the Jets. But you guys have got some fight in you.
Yeah, definitely. That's the one thing that they can hang their hat on. They're a young, especially on defense. They're a very young team. They're very fast. They play with they have a good energy about them, and that's a far cry from the team that they had just last season. Last year you just felt the guys going through the motion after a really tough start to the season with the loss, week 1 to the Bengals last season, where it was a close game. They could have pulled it out, and then they had a quick turnaround for the Thursday night game last year, but then it all just imploded with that Chiefs game. I'm not sure if you guys remember that, but Fitzpatrick threw, I think, 6 interceptions.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't bench him, and Sheldon Richardson and Brandon Marshall kind of had at it that game, and it really just snowballed from there. So it just seems like it's a much tighter knit group, and bringing back a guy like Demario Davis has done wonders. He's come in and he was drafted in the 3rd round a few years ago by the Jets, and they expected him to really become a really big player for the defense, and he really just he struggled in coverage. He was just I think he was thinking too much, and believe it or not, he signed a free agent deal with the Browns 2 off seasons ago, and had a decent season for them, and then the Jets flipped another one of their first-round busts in Calvin Pryor for Demario in the offseason, and he's come in and he's played like a man on fire. He's been, one of the better, believe it or not, better linebacking years a Jets player has ever had. So he's not only the leader on the field, but he's the leader off the field in the locker room too. And, add a guy like Jamal Adams in the 1st round and Marcus May in the 2nd. They're playing with a lot of energy, and they're playing fast. They do make a lot of mistakes. I think they're maybe top 3 or top 5 in the league in penalties, and especially in the secondary. But it is, like you said, it's a pleasant surprise to see them actually playing some kind of spirited football, whereas last year they were, just a dead man walking. So, and yeah, Coney Ealy has been a nice surprise. I was always a fan of his, and I was wondering, I guess I'll flip the script and ask you guys a question. What was the vibe with Ealy? I mean, I remember the huge Super Bowl game he had, but was he just the guy who kind of just never put it together?
He was very inconsistent. I think the consistency was his downfall. He would look very good, in the Super Bowl. He was all world. You're like, where's this guy been? and then you'll go 5 games and you won't even hear his name.
Yeah, I think you can sense that with the Jets too. You can see, and I'm sure that's a frustrating thing for the coaches. I mean, you can see him get a little lazy and take a few plays off here and there, and then you see a strip sack and a fumble recovery, or I think he leads the league in batted passes for pass defense, I guess that's what they call it. But he's been a really nice surprise, and I was excited when the Jets claimed him, and he's actually played better than Mo Wilkerson and Leo Williams. I know the last time we were on the show, you guys asked me who the Jets kind of leaders or best players were, and I told you it would be Leo Williams and a Mo Wilkerson, and Coney Ealy's actually outplayed the both of them. So it's been a nice surprise. But you do see that. You're like, damn, I wish you can get this Coney Ealy 90% of the time, not 75.
I think with Coney Ealy is that, I mean, in many ways we look at it as inconsistency, but I think in another way is that, he just seems to be better suited for a guy that plays 40% of the snaps rather than 58, 65% of the snaps. He seems to... I don't know if he struggles with the pressure a little bit of being in a full-time role in an every down situation, but he seems to thrive more in a rotational role. If you go back to the Super Bowl where he did have that game. Right. By the way, if the Panthers win that Super Bowl, he has a game that arguably makes him the Super Bowl MVP. Yeah. 3 sacks. Yeah, 3 sacks, an interception, a forced fumble recovery. It was one of the greatest defensive performances. But to remember, he played in a situational and a rotational role in that game as well. So he just seems to do better. He is a young player. I'd like to know. I'm kind of interested. I don't know exactly how old. I'm going to look up his age. Is that if he got drafted? He's 25.
28.
He's 25.
He's younger than I thought.
So he could come into a little bit more. There was a lot of pressure on him. 2nd-round pick. You had that big game in the Super Bowl, and then the Panthers handed him a starting role the next year, and they needed him to step up, and he struggled about 6 games in. So you're right. He has 9 batted balls this season. He's only had, I think, like 9 tackles though, and 1 sack. But he seems to be fitting in well in New York.
Definitely, yeah. He's fitting. They kind of carved out a role for him, and Wilkerson dealt with a lot of injuries early in the season. He wasn't practicing for a few weeks, so I'm sure Ealy was getting, a lot of the first team reps and a lot more reps. And Leo Williams had I believe it was a wrist or a hand injury. He was playing with a cast for the first part of the season, so they both had injuries. But so Ealy's been kind of the one. Healthy guy. I think he missed the 1 game with an injury. And then also, Ealy also had that unfortunate situation with his sister who was sick and who just actually passed away a couple of weeks back. And, so I knew he grew up with, that kind of, weighing over him. So I think I'm not sure of what his sister had, but it was well documented. I think ESPN did a special on it too. And so I think he's kind of fallen into a bit of a, maybe found a home here with the Jets. And I think he's kind of vibing with, not only the team, but also the situation he's in. And even the coaching staff, which, I'm not huge on the coaching staff, but I think he's kind of found a nice role for him. And like you said, he only has a few tackles here and there. But, his role has really kind of just been to try and get after the quarterback and try to mess some things up and make the quarterback uncomfortable, get in the throwing lanes and, let Wilkerson and Leo Williams kind of, get the stats, so to say. So, but he's been one of the guys who you're just pleasantly surprised with on the defense again.
You know, that game after his sister passed away, he missed 2 practices, I believe I had read, and he returned on Friday and comes back and had 4 batted passes in that game. One, you know, and they gave him, so that was, it's nice to see, you kind of rooting for him. When he started out with the Panthers, he was in the doghouse from the beginning for some reason, and the coaching staff was real hard on him, and he's done something to piss off some coaches in the way, and I don't get what it is. He seems like a pretty cool dude. But at the same time, it looks like Todd Bowles is willing to give him a fresh start. Now, look, what's going on? Tell me, I mean, where are you more surprised with this Jets team? Is it offensively or defensively? I mean, you see a little renaissance maybe almost for Matt Forte. I don't know if you'd call it that, but I mean, he caught a little second wind recently. It seems like you guys got a little more spunk. Where do you see that? Is the defense the reason that this team is succeeding, or are they just trying to find ways on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, I think it has. That's a good question. I think it has to do a little bit of both. I think more pleasantly surprised would be the leadership. I know it's kind of a cop out, because it's, you can't really pinpoint actually substance on the field. But I think, a guy like McCown, who is a journeyman, obviously. I mean, we all know Josh McCown. He's like the Ryan Fitzpatrick, but more of a leader and a better locker room guy. McCown is literally the coach out there, and he's kind of fallen into an offense that fits him best in the West Coast system with Johnny Morton, who I thought has done a nice job. He was a wide receiver coach with the Saints, and I don't know if you can remember in the offseason, the Jets couldn't give that offensive coordinator position away because you're going into a season where the talent on the roster was as bad as it can get. You didn't know if the coach was going to be let go, so there wasn't really a lot of security in an offensive coordinator job there. So you get a guy like Morton, and he's done a nice job. I mean, it's tough coming off such a bad game against the Buccaneers. So the kind of vibe within the team, it was a rough loss because they were 4-5. They could have beaten a Buccaneers team without Winston and Evans and gotten to 5-5 at the bye, and then who knows what happens. So now instead you're sitting at 4-6 after. Which was their worst offensive output of the season. So, but McCown has been a kind of like the father on the field in a sense. He's brought a lot of leadership and calmness to the team, which everybody kind of thought was going to be all over the place. And after losing Quincy and Nunwell, who was supposed to be the number 1 receiver, you've seen a guy like Robbie Anderson step up. Jermaine Kearse has been a nice addition too after that trade with the Seahawks, and then you have the younger guys, Bilal Powell and Elijah McGuire has been a nice 1-2 and Forte 3 punch there. So I would say the leadership, a guy like Jamal Adams has done wonders. You can just see it, the confidence he has, and the Jets have lacked like a leader in
he was on the Panthers wish list in the draft.
How good has he been?
He's been really good. I mean, for a safety to come into the league now, and I don't want to take away from how good Marcus May has been. I think he's been, back to those Pro Football Focus stats. I think he's top 3 safeties in the league in allowing completions, targeted towards his side of the field or towards him.
Wow.
As a rookie coming into a pass-heavy league, I mean, you guys, I don't have to explain to you how heavily skewed it is towards the passing game and fantasy stats, and the referees, you can't play defense anymore. So for both of these guys to come in and how they're playing, Adams is a little, May probably has him a bit in coverage, but Adams brings kind of the whole 9 yards to the team. He's got the leadership, he hits hard, he's a ball hawk, he's always around the ball. So he's been, and I was rough on the Jets for drafting 2 safeties. They had so many holes, to use them on, 2 priority picks on a safety was rough. But I guess that's why they pay them the big bucks, and we just kind of sit here and complain about it. So, but Adams has been awesome, and I don't want to slight May at all too, because he's been great.
Go ahead, Mel.
I'm curious. I was looking at some of the stats, and it's amazing to me how similar, to date anyway, that the Panthers offense and the Jets offense have been statistically, in a lot of ways. I mean, Josh McCown and Cam Newton virtually have the same statistics. Yeah, I mean, McCown actually, has a 69% completion percentage, whereas Cam's down around 62. Cam brings a whole different dynamic with the rushing and that type of thing. But Josh McCown's been a great surprise. But I think the one weakness I've seen, and I just want your take, is the offensive line has given up quite a few sacks. So I just wanted your take on the status or the state of the offensive line since you've had some last couple
Yeah,
years.
that it's been so. It's funny. It's the old saying, when it rains, it pours. Because when they play a sound game where the game plan is to get the ball out quick. That's the West Coast. You're trying to get that out as quick as possible. You don't want Josh McCown taking hits. So when they play solid, they play really well, if that makes sense. And then when they play bad, it's really bad. Against the Buccaneers, it was really bad. And then again, back to the penalties, Brian Winters, who is probably one of my favorite Jet players. I think he's been the most undervalued. He did get a contract extension in the offseason. So obviously the front office sees his value too, but he's had a rough season in terms of penalties too. I think he's, top, penalized offensive lineman in the league. So that has been an issue too. So, but replacing Nick Mangold hasn't been the easiest. Even though he was a shell of himself the past 2 seasons. That that continuity on the offensive line, that veteran leadership role that Mangold played, replacing him with a guy like Wes Johnson, who is I'm sure if you hear his name you probably say who, has been tough for them. So they do have 3 new starters. Their right tackle has been in and out. Brandon Shell, he was hurt, so he missed a few games. So they had to replace, their left tackle's new, their center's new, and their right tackle's new. So anytime you guys went through the offensive line issues too. I mean, anytime you replace multiple guys on the offensive line, you're going to run into some issues, and especially with a guy like McCown back there, you don't want him getting, hit off, and he is 38 years old. So, it's been so. The offensive line has definitely had their ups and downs for sure. And when it's good, it's really good, and when it's bad, it's really bad. So. And you could tell right off the bat what kind of game it's going to be.
Yeah. How do you see what do the Panthers need to do? Because, look, there's been on some concern. We've had some mixed results coming off the bye under our head coach's tenure. You've got a team that doesn't like to just roll over. What are the Panthers going to do? How do they attack the Jets? What are you concerned about? Is this – Where is the? I guess I'm sure there's plenty on every team. There's weaknesses and strengths, but what do you kind of going to be looking for in this game?
Yeah, I think on defense, you guys are getting Greg Olsen back, which is huge, and the Jets have. He's back, right, Olsen, this week?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a humongous, addition for you guys. I mean, the Jets. I can't remember my entire life being able to stop a tight end, and Olsen's as good as it gets in the league. So. Especially with Benjamin gone now and, Samuel being hurt, he's probably going to be right up there if it's not first in targets, definitely up there. So I'm sure Cam is going to lean on him a lot. And the Jets have a hard time covering the tight end. So I would say that's number 1 off the bat is look for Greg Olsen to have a big game. Number 2 is Cam extending plays. I mean, no one does it better than him. And I think, him running the ball, he can definitely have a huge impact on the game, extending plays if they can't bring him down, running the ball and, design runs for Cam. So I think those 2 things on the offensive side of the ball are weigh heavily in your guys' favor for sure. I'm sure the Jets will have some success stopping the run. They've been a lot better as of late. Playing the run. Steve McClendon has been really good for the Jets. Nose guard, big dude, clogs up a lot of the holes. Wilkerson's been a little healthier. And the linebackers kind of find a role for themselves. Darren Lee, first round pick a few years ago, is playing a lot more confident. He's playing quicker. So I don't expect the run to stop the run, with Stewart and McCaffrey to be a huge issue. I think Cam will have more success running the ball, getting outside and, extending the plays with his legs will be a problem for the Jets. And on, on defense for you guys, it's, if you can stop the run and the Jets have actually been one of the better teams with yards, breaking tackles and extending plays with Powell and especially McGuire. I remember back to the Miami game, all 3 of them had big plays where it looked like they were taking, bottled up in the backfield and they broke a tackle and extended the play that way. They're not an explosive offense by any means. They really, except for Robbie Anderson, he's one of the only guys. Safarian Jenkins has had a nice bounce back season too, for sure. So he's been a favorite of McCown, especially in the red zone. If you guys can, maybe get a safety on him, or add some, roll some coverage to him in the red zone. He's kind of their one and only target out there. So, but they like to run the ball in the red zone, and they like to try and get Safarian Jenkins the ball. Otherwise, kind of they're going to try and run the ball, play action to Robbie Anderson. I mean, that's kind of been their MO this season. So,
does McCown have the ability to push the ball downfield? Because I think this is, if the Panthers, the Panthers defense has we got the number one defense in the league.
Right.
We've had several debates on this show if we're worthy of the number one spot. While statistically we're very good, a couple of us don't think this is the best Panthers defense we've ever seen, but it's getting the job done. If there is a weakness on this team, it's the ability. It's some weakness against the corners and maybe taking advantage of the safety play. Does McCown have the ability to push the ball down the field if that run game is not panning out? Because that's the goal. I think if you're the Panthers defense, is to make you guys one dimension. Put this game on McCown.
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly, he's been able to. Not with any consistency like I would say a Carson Wentz this season, but he'll surprise you. He'll take his shots, especially to Anderson down the field, and curse within 15 yards really over the middle of the field, which I wouldn't see that being too big of an issue for you guys, especially with a really solid linebacking core. But I would expect them to try and take a few shots with Anderson down the field, and they've been also, one of the faster starting teams. They've done a good job of really, coming up with a really good first drive on offense. I mean, I think it was 3 or 4 games in a row they scored a touchdown on the first drive, and after that it's kind of a roller coaster. But they've been able to really move the ball, especially when they open up, with the short passing game and getting the ball out quick so that McCown's not taking any hits. But the one guy you do have to watch out for is Anderson stretching the field. He's really the one kind of game breaker, and if that's been a liability for you guys on defense, I could see.
Is that the guy with the blonde? Is that like the guy with the blonde hair?
He's got dreads. I think he's
like
some
tips.
Yeah,
they got
11,
like blonde tips on them or something. Yeah,
really
kind of skinny dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I guess the last thing is here. Are there any injuries that are problematic for the Jets that could pop up that you're concerned about in this game?
I think relatively, coming off a bye, I think the guys like Mo Claiborne is somebody to watch for, who's had a really nice season, and again, another guy who can't stay healthy for the life of him. He missed a week, and then he came back and got hurt in the Tampa game and came out. But I think he's expected to play. Wilkerson again was missed some of practice, but I think he's expected to play. Forte and Powell, I'm not even sure if Forte's. I think he practiced limited this week, so I'm sure he'll play a little bit. But him and Powell have both been banged up, so they're a team that needs to run the ball to have any success. So I would watch Powell, Forte, and Mo Claiborne on defense. You
got a thought on what the score of this game is?
I think you guys will take care of business. Probably around like 27-16 or something. I think you guys will be able to make some plays and really shut. I see the Jets kind of hanging tough and to start, maybe even scoring first, like they've been doing this whole season. But a close game in the first half, and the Jets have been really poor in the second half of games, and that's where my problem with Todd Bowles lies mostly.
I got a question for you. We were talking earlier. We were talking earlier in the show before you joined us about how the NFC is so much stronger this year.
Yeah, big time.
Than the AFC, and with the Bills were the team in the 6th playoff spot, and they just are falling down all over themselves. Mm. Is there playoff aspirations in New York? Do you guys feel like you got a real shot to get in?
No, I mean, I'm sure you'll run into the most, like, I don't even know how to call it. I don't want to offend anybody, but
homeristic.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, no, nobody came into the season thinking that realistically. And even last when it was when they were 4-5 heading into Tampa, I mean, they have a tough schedule to end out the season. They're not good enough, or ready to win games yet. They've hung in. Even the games they won were ugly, like the Jaguar game. They could have lost the Browns. So no,
Hey man,
no.
I tip my cap to you on the perspective there, because even in the Panthers 1-15 season, week 10, I'm like, I mean, it's like the Cleveland Browns. They actually posted.
Nah, Mel, look.
If these 48 things happen, the Browns can still get into the playoffs.
I just saw that.
Mel, listen to the teams they got to play. They got to play us, then they got to play the Chiefs, then they got to play the Broncos, then they got to play the Saints. By the way, it is Broncos, Saints on the road, Chargers at home, and then Patriots in New England to finish the season. That's All right. So
if they wanted any thought, they would have had to beat Tampa Bay, and then you can give yourself the Saints on the road a loss. You would have had to beat the Chiefs. Beat the Panthers.
And you got to beat the Broncos and the Chargers, and that's going to be tough. All right, Nick, we're going to get you out of here. Nick, can you tell us before you go, though, a little bit about UStadium? Because I know everybody on this show, I'm going to encourage you guys to download the UStadium app and join the C3 Carolina Panthers feed, right? Is that I started a Carolina Panthers feed up there and been posting up there a little bit. Tell us about UStadium and what is going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. We just actually, I don't know if I think you're an Android guy.
Yeah.
Just launched like the first beta version of that, which, we've been working on for a while now. It's, but just launched that first beta version to match the iOS, and we have a website version coming soon too. So that's exciting, and the ability to get in and out of feeds will be a lot easier. But UStadium is really just a dedicated platform for football fans to just really engage. It's a very interactive platform, more than on Twitter. Everybody lives on Twitter for breaking news and instant reaction to that. But the conversation isn't really as live as it used to be. I don't know if you guys were on Twitter back, even just 2014, let's say. The engagement was so much higher, and fans really aren't interacting as much on there anymore. So that's why I love shows like this podcast. You get to interact, and that's what it's all about as sports fans. It's not just kind of sitting and watching ESPN and having them preach to you about what's going on, and then half the time they're wrong. So the interaction on UStadium is really what kind of brings us and sets us apart from any other platform. So you can get on there. You can again join your guys' feed. You can join overall specific teams, fantasy sports, whatever it may be that you're interested in. There's probably a feed for it. If not, you can create it and invite people to it. So it's similar to like a Twitter and a Reddit for football fans. So definitely check it out, and always down to come on the show, and hopefully it's a good game on Sunday.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks so much for your time, Nick. You can check out Nick Spano, and definitely everybody go and download the UStadium app on iTunes. You can find it on iTunes and in the Play Store. I'm going to start building the Panthers discussion there. So we appreciate your time, Nick, and we'll talk to you in the future.
Always, guys. Keep crushing. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Right on,
fantastic.
All right.
Good luck, guys. Yep.
Thanks, Nick.
Joe, let's see if anything else. I'm trying to see if there's any other. I guess we need to talk. I think one thing to mention is all right. The
picks.
Yeah, we got to do that, and we got to get into the cat calls. So we're pretty much done with the content. I do want to point out that Demir Bird potentially is inching back to joining this team. I think that could bring something, hopefully, to this offense. Joey, what are your expectations? Do you feel good about coming off the bye? The Panthers have a mixed bag. It's been a mixed bag, I think. Mel, were you telling me the statistics off the bye earlier?
I was not, but
I think I saw somebody in the chat room say we're 3-6 or something off the bye under Rivera or something. But then I was on a radio show recently, and Trip Morgan, Panther source, was touting how good the Panthers have been. Like we're like 3-something over the last 2 years. But he was like counting. He also counted the playoffs in that 15-1 as a bye. And I don't count that as a bye.
Right.
Like there is
a concern, and I think it was Tisha in the chat room said just a little while ago she's worried about the possibility of the Panthers losing momentum coming out of the great win on Monday night, prime time, kind of letting your hair down, and then just like Greg Olsen talking about, it's not easy to get back into the groove of things after an injury. Well, it's not easy to get back in after a bye sometimes. So hopefully, though, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking as tight as NFC is, the way the Saints ended up beating the Redskins, which I hate you Redskins, ice up. I think that's going to keep the Panthers sharp and motivated, and I think they're going to come out hungry and focused on Sunday. At least
all right. Joe, how you feel about it?
Good.
Good. All right. Well, that's enough said. Well, let's get on out of here, and then let's jump into these cat calls then.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty you shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like...
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Hey, it's your boy T Money. I am just saying that I am happy Kelvin Benjamin is gone. T Money signing out.
Marshall's gotta go. Gotta go. He cleaned up, but he's sloppy. You gotta go.
Gentlemen, this is Greg from up in Boston. Just got one thing to say. What the Redskins? All right,
Exactly.
just to get that off my chest. Later.
Well said. Panther Nation, this is J-Dub. It's good to talk to y'all, man. I don't like bye weeks, but I'm loving this one, man. We're getting healthy. We're about ready to come at people, man. They're not ready for it. They're not taking it seriously, and that's when we play our best and we do our best. We have two major shout-outs. First of all, you guys in the chats during the podcast are amazing. Like, I love being able to see it later and, like, see all of your debates and talks and stats and facts and opinions. It's so great. Panther Nasty, thank you for stepping in and helping out the C3 podcast. Stay great.
Yeah.
Good job, brother. Keep pounding.
Right
As
on.
for the second half, man, we come out strong against the Jets. There's going to be some real problems for everybody else because we know what we are. I don't think a lot of these teams know what they are. We do know what we are now, and everybody's in trouble. Everybody's on notice. I hope they know. Go Panthers, keep pounding.
Good evening, C3 Podcast and Panthers Nation. This is Cali Cat. I've got a concern, something that's weighing on my mind, something that's cut down some really good teams and made the first last and the last, well, at least temporarily first. It is, of course, the trap game. I'm concerned that the Jets might be a trap game. We remember that pain of the loss to the Bears. Those Bears who are who we thought they were. Every week that loss is looking more and more costly. I believe it was Brother Mel who said a few weeks ago that Ron Rivera doesn't do well coming out of bye weeks. I looked into the numbers. Under Brother Ronald Eugene Rivera, our Panthers are 2-4 following a bye week. But of course, that's not the only time that Brother Ronald has had a little bit extra time to prepare for the next game. In games following the Thursday night appearance, the Panthers are again 2-4. And we should also include the first game of the season and the playoff byes after the 2013 and 2015 season. The Panthers are 3-4 in the opening games and 1-1 following a playoff bye. That's 21 games and a record of 8-13. Not too good. But there's a reason for hope, Panthers Nation. I believe we can categorize the Jets as a sub-500 team by the end of this season. In games against teams that would finish the season sub-500, among those 21 games, the Panthers' record is 6-3. So I say, yes, we can, and keep pounding, Panthers Nation.
Strong call.
Oh, yes, Panther fans. It is your boy, Scotty Jurassic. Once again, the Falcons are rising up, baby.
God, what a
We
douche.
beat the Seahawks here in Seattle. We're back, baby. We had our cup of coffee, and the Super Bowl hangover is over. And we are coming for the Panthers. You guys suck. Keep pounding.
All right, that is that's the C3 Cat Calls line. You can join in that discussion by calling 252-228.
Can we ban that guy? Can you block a call or block a number?
You know what is that he gets a razz out of other Panther fans, so I'll keep it. The number is 252-228-5098. You can call anytime and leave a message. I think there is a 3-minute limit, so if you need to come back for round 2, you can do that as well. We encourage everybody to jump in, call before the game, after the game, in the middle of the week. It's great when I get up in the morning and I check the email because it'll give me an email in it, and it's like a 4 a.m. call. Love that. We do need to get in and do our divisional round picks. We skipped last week, I believe. And by the end of the show, we had a long show last week, plenty to talk about. And I felt like it just went on and on and on. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go and knock these picks out real quick. Let me see. The Panthers. Let's start with the Panthers. That's the easiest one to pick for us. I am just going to go ahead and start off and say that for me, it's there's no sense in picking against the Panthers when you're playing the Jets.
Definitely, I'm going to have to concur there, man. I mean, I'm going Panthers all the way.
No, I meant 3 then.
All right, 3 Musketeers it is. So then we got New Orleans. I think is it at the Rams?
I believe it is at the Rams. Yes.
I'm really pissed is that I picked. It is in Los Angeles. When does this Saints streak end? I went on the radio last week and I picked Washington to go in there and upset the Saints. I thought it was real. I was on to it, man. They had it and they blew it. I'm starting to feel like Panthers in 2015, where everybody just picked against us and there was no reason to pick against them. The Rams did not look particularly great against the Vikings. The Vikings are a much tougher defense. This is going to be a tough match for New Orleans. I could see New Orleans get upset. Do I just keep picking again and again against the Saints? I think I've picked against them every week for the last 5 weeks. Joe, I'm going to let you decide for me. You go first, and you pick. Who you got, the Saints on the road in Los Angeles against the Rams, or do you see the Rams bouncing back and a little girly man putting it to them?
Well, the Saints do have to travel across the country, but I heard that Robert Woods is out of this game because of a shoulder injury. Actually, he might miss a couple of weeks because of this shoulder issue he has. So, because the offense won't be at 100%, I am going Rams. I'm sorry, Saints.
Saints.
Right.
Since the Rams offense won't be at 100%. They did get a bit of a reality check last week against the Redskins. So I think this team will be ready going into LA and will win.
That was enough to put me over. I'm going to pick the Saints as well because, is that you don't want to congratulate a division foe very often. But I tell you one thing is that you've seen the Saints barely win this season. Mm-hmm. You've seen them blow teams out, and I think this is maybe the first time. That's a big game to come back and to come down back 2 touchdowns in 3 minutes.
It is. That will give them confidence throughout the rest of the season. It really will. But
yeah, they're learning how to win. They're learning how to win.
Let me say, guys, I've got to make up some ground. I don't know what our numbers are, but I know I'm behind you guys in the pit. Well, I might be ahead of you, Tony. You've had a couple of offers.
You're right. I had some ugly weeks.
But I'm behind Joe. But you know what? Going across the country, they did lose Okafor, their defensive end, and Goff. He didn't have a great game this past weekend, and that's only because I had to put him on my fantasy team because Cam was on a bye. So that was my fault. But Goff is going to bounce back this week. He's not going to have as much pressure. Gurley is going to have a big game. I do see the Saints going down this week. I see the Panthers winning, and I see next week in New Orleans, it's a battle of 2 8-3 teams for the lead in the NFC South. So I'm going with the Rams on this one, guys.
Nice. Good
you make a good case. I think my issue is I think the Rams are gonna They're going to miss Robert Woods. He's been on fire for them the
He
last
really,
couple
he
of
really has, and he's been great for me in
lit
fantasy league.
I mean, defense is up, but I think it's just going to be too big of a. They don't have anybody to jump right in right.
Well, they got Cooper. They do have Cooper Kupp, who's been up and down, but he's got some real big play ability, and then you got Sammy Watkins too. So they do have some other.
And
players.
the Rams really let me down last week. You know, I picked them to go on the road and beat the Vikings. I thought that they had the team with a defense that was going to be able to take advantage of that offensive line.
Vikings are legit. That Vikings defense is legit, dude. That's going to be a tough game in a couple weeks.
It is, but I tell you, man, it's time to put Case Keenum out of his misery, and the Panthers got to do it. But all right, so I think then next game on the schedule is. Who's Tampa playing?
Well, I was gonna say I'll take the Falcons over Seattle.
Oh, nice. It's Buccaneers at Falcons is the last game. So I'm taking
the Dirty Birds.
Yeah, I mean the Bucks are done. They're
a hot pile of steaming and really on fire garbage.
Yeah.
Hey, Cow Turd.
Which
you are just. I don't even have a name for you anymore, except Cow Turd. Nick.
That is what they are, Cow Turd.
That's it.
They're always they're always the winner of the off season, aren't they? The Bucks.
Man, how about this? Is that team's better off without Jameis Winston right now?
They really are.
Who would have thought that? All right, those are our picks for the week. Now, all we got to do is knock out. Before we get into the Ice Up picks, I do want to say this. Thanks, everybody, for participating in the YouTube chat. We're rejuvenating as a fan base and as a podcast on this bye week, and we appreciate you keeping the momentum of this season. So thank you for that participation. We encourage you to smash that like button, subscribe to the show, and give us a share on social media. If it's on Twitter, on Facebook, wherever you hang out and talk Panthers, we could really appreciate you reaching out and telling a friend about the podcast, because I tell you one thing is that there's so much stuff on the internet. It's hard for people to get the things and find the things they want, and people want to talk Panthers with Panther fans, and that's what we do here with you on Tuesday nights. So we appreciate you guys for making this show fantastic. We're going to get into now these Ice Up picks for the week. And Mel, do you want to start us off this week?
Sure. And I'll just kind of take some rather low-hanging fruit here. I mean, just a couple. You go back to the 2014 season. The Panthers had probably the worst offensive line in football, or close to it. And the Dallas Cowboys were building this unbelievable offensive line, and they've just been. I mean, everybody's talking about Ezekiel Elliott is a product of the system, even. That is the holy grail offensive line, according to all the people that you listen to. Just like you were talking about listening to ESPN just preach to you, or I think it was our guest that was talking about it, how ESPN just shoves things down your throat, and half the time they're wrong. And they're talking about how great this offensive line is. Well, you fast forward just 3 years, and now all of a sudden they're starting the left-handed Byron Bell at left tackle. And boy, have they just, 2 weeks ago against Atlanta, after we held Atlanta to no sacks on Cam Newton, they go out and just Claiborne just lit up.
Yeah, he got 6 on Chaz, or 4 or 6. He got like 6 sacks on Chaz Green or something.
Yeah. And then Byron Bell replaces Chaz Green. And then this week, Lyle Collins is very questionable for this game. He had to sit out of practice today. This offensive line is in shambles, and their season has gone down the tubes, just in flames. But it's too late, but it's never too late to say, Dallas Cowboys, ice up, son.
All right, ice up. This is the segment where we tell somebody to toughen up, to ice up, to get their mess together, and Mel is letting the Cowboys offensive line have it. Joe Riolano, what do you got for us on the ice up picks this week?
My ice up pick this week goes to a head coach. a repeat offender, actually. Emphasis on Pete. Mr. Pete Carroll, Seattle Seahawks head coach. He's a repeat offender. In the Super Bowl versus New England, Seattle's down at the 1 yard line. Decides to call a pass. But who's your running back? I don't know, some guy named Marshawn Lynch, also known as Beast Mode. You're at the 1 yard line and you're going to call a pass, coach? Yeah, man, let's do it. You guys know the rest of the story. Subsequently, that pass is intercepted, and New England goes on to win the Super Bowl. Well, last night, Coach Pete Carroll had a chance to get within, I want to say within 4 points of Atlanta by kicking a field goal. 7 seconds left. They're inside the 30. Easy field goal, chip shot, no problem. 7 seconds left. They're out. They have no timeouts. I'm sorry. They actually have 1 timeout. 4th down. They were going to kick the field goal. They lined up. They run a fake. The fake is a handoff, an inside
like a shovel pass. Yeah.
To the tight end, Luke Wilson, who runs the 40 so slow they have to use a sundial. So what are you thinking, Carol? That is 2 really dumb decisions, and they end up losing the game by 3 points. So those 3 points could have carried them into overtime, and everybody knew after he blew the chance to get the 3 points and went into halftime that those 3 points were going to come back and haunt him, and it sure did. So Pete Carroll for just making some dumb calls, and you're a head coach, and not like a young coach, you're old. I say, I suck, son.
Nice. I like it.
Joe, there's somebody, I'm Queasy, says he's friends with Eric on PS4. He said that in the YouTube chat room. So how about you on PS, you tell Eric to whisper.
I saw there.
All right, so I wanted to ice up. I always debate. Do you ice up something serious? Do you ice up a football thing? You guys did not take the ice up. You didn't take the low hanging fruit, so I think I'm gonna have to do it. I do want to give my kind of serious ice up, and I'm not gonna go into it. All this sexual harassment crap, dude, and not crap. Like, I'm not trying to diminish if people have used their power to harass people or to do things that are inappropriate. But boy, it's just like overwhelming. Charlie Rose fired today from everything because he likes to. He pulls the. I like how they have a name for it. You got Charlie Roast, they said, and that is like my man just has I guess a shower in his office, and he just likes to walk out naked when you're in there.
Is that what they call the wilted rose?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like seeing your dad when you're like 9 or 10, and you see your dad come out of the shower, and you're like, God, man, or your like the grandfather, you know what I'm saying? It's like a grandfather out there. So to you, you mad crappers and you Charlie Rosen people, ice up with all of that. But my ice up truly goes to the damn mofo Redskins.
Yes. Somebody had to do it.
I don't know how you guys didn't do it, man. I didn't think. Look, I had prepared. I was trying to find something more, like something else to talk about, because I just assumed everybody would be icing up the Redskins. These jerks. I pick you in the pick'em. I've defended you as a team all season, saying that you're much better than your record indicated, and you've had kind of a tough sled. Well, your tough sled turns out that you suck at the end of the game. You guys did everything possible to win, and then in the last 3 minutes did everything possible to lose. I don't understand how you lose with 3 minutes to go, up 14 points. You let them tie the damn game and then go into overtime and lose. You jerks. You suck. You suck. You suck. And, you really could have helped us.
The only good news is the Atlanta Falcons said that they could one-up that performance.
What? Against the...
They could blow a lead better than the Redskins.
Oh, you're right. They can. But here's the thing. That did help us just because we didn't have to hear Falcons fans talk junk for a year. But this could have really helped us. We're catching a little momentum. The Saints needed somebody to take the wind out of their sails. You go into their house and you have an opportunity to do it, and you fail. You fail at the end, and you don't know how to win. Josh Norman, why can't you stop somebody? Somebody make a damn sack. What the hell? Good mercy, man. I'm so mad. So mad. And I will never, I didn't even... This is wrong because I'm a kind of a liberal, guys. But I don't get overly offended by the Redskin name. I'm also not an Indian. So maybe if I was, I would be more offended.
But I do get offended by their play.
You know what? Strip them of their damn name. You're dead to me.
Yes,
you are dead to me. You're the Deadskins. That's right. Yes. So to you, I say ice up. My name's Tony Dunn. This is the C3 podcast. I want to encourage, like I said, everybody to join the show by calling into the Cat Calls line, 252-228-5098. We love to hear your perspective. Joe Riolano loves to talk to you on Twitter. Where can they find you, Joe?
When you are on Twitter, you can find me at Joe Riolano.
All right. Well, he's short and sweet tonight and to the point. Love it, Joey. All about business. Glad to talk to you, Joe, man. I miss hanging out with my buddies. So it's nice on Tuesday nights to get together. Mel Mayock is back in the house, man. It was a pleasure being with you. I'm going to be seeing you in a couple weeks for that old Packers game. I'm excited to come hang out with you. But until then, we get to hang out on Tuesday nights. Where can they talk to you until next Tuesday?
Sir. Well, if it's not here on Tuesday night, which I love chatting with everybody in the chat room, keep that up. That's what makes this show the best Panther show. Not only the only weekly Panther show, but the best Panther show out there, and it's because of you. So keep that going. But you can if you're not chatting with me there, give me at Panthers Drafter on Twitter, and then also check me out on drafttech.com doing a every 2-week mock draft.
My name's Tony Dunn. They call me the professor from times to times because I like to teach you a little something. I don't know very much. So what I can teach you about is this. It's just how to honestly and authentically cheer for the Carolina Panthers. You probably know a lot about it too. That's why you're listening to this podcast. And we're going to check you out next Tuesday when we do it again. We're going to come back. We're going to be 8-3. We're going to go after those Falcons after that. And then we are going for this NFC championship, and you can join that ride with the C3 Carolina Panthers podcast. And that's it, man.
Peace. Awesome.